And then thank you all for inviting me today. I'm going to share my screen. And as Herman mentioned, we will be sending out the presentation that you're going to see to be available as a reference material. We'll be sending it out after the presentation. So as we mentioned, my name is Salome Gorbani, and I'm one of the lead program managers in the integrated award environment. And the term IAE or the integrated award environment may not mean much in particular to you. So I'm going to take a step back and kind of level set. And can somebody just confirm that you can see my screen?
We can see it and we can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. Thanks. So, oops, actually, I should adjust my microphone. My cat knocked it over. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started with kind of a high-level overview about, IAE, because it is something that I use a lot since we own the systems. So basically, back when George W. Bush was president, he had put out an initiative he referred to as the eGov initiative. And what that initiative basically was intended to do was to standardize the tracking and the components of acquisition government-wide. They had standards, obviously, that are laid out in the FAR, but we still had a lot of different agencies doing different things different ways. And that makes it very difficult for anybody to get an idea of what's going on in the big picture. So we, over the course of 15 years or so, stood up multiple independent systems that were designed to increase transparency and accountability, make it easier for businesses to find these opportunities and to see what's going on, and also really make sure that the data we're providing is good, consistent with what the agencies are reporting to us. And the outcome of that was multiple systems. And now what we're doing today and over the last 5 years and probably for the next 2 or 3 is all of those independent systems that we stood up. We are now standardizing all the data and bringing them all in together into one platform. And that platform is SAM.gov. Some of the modernization we've done has brought in functionality for things like the assistance listings, looking at wage determinations, looking at contract data reports, and searching for opportunities. And that's in addition to the function that the original SAM.gov that came out in 2012 was designed to do, which has to do with registering your entity and managing your entity status and things along those lines. We have found it is much more effective and much easier to just have everything in one place and just do it once and just bring in the data and the capabilities. So, one of the happy things is that you'll just have one login and password now instead of 14. The other systems that are still in our stable that are still in what we consider to be a legacy status include FPDS, ESRS, which if you do subcontracting, you're probably familiar with. And then the FSRS and the performance systems. Over the course of the next couple of years, we are going to be bringing all of those into SAM.gov and retiring these as we do so. So now that we know what SAM is, I want to start by showing you some screens about what it looks like, how we've got the data broken down, and how you can leverage that information. First thing I want to point out is if you've been to SAM.gov, you've seen all of these in the center area. We refer to them as domains or data domains. What that basically refers to is when we turned off a legacy system and brought the capability over, we wanted people to still be able to quickly find what they need. So for example, when we retired FBO.gov, we created the contract opportunities domain. So basically, if you used to use FBO and none of this other data on here meant anything to you, you could still go to contract opportunities and get exactly what you need and do what you used to do in FBO. We've made a few changes to the workflows and how things look and feel based on the feedback we've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years. But you know, it's this whole concept has been pretty successful in helping people navigate their way into the functions that they need to do. We do have some common functions up at the top. The home page is the page that's displayed, and you can see it's highlighted green because that's where we are. We have a dedicated search page. The data bank page is where one would go to run the old FPDS reports that used to be in there that are now here in SAM. And then data services, and then help. And data services is for people who like to download extracts and then, you know, parse them and do your voodoo when internally to find the information you're looking for. All of this information that is publicly available can be accessed through data services. So if you are wanting to search for contract opportunities, we've got a couple different ways to get there. From the main page, you can select the contract opportunities domain, and that will launch a contract opportunities page. Or you can go to search up at the top, and you'll see an option to select the domain that you're looking for. And one of those domains is contract opportunities. You can run a search across all domains, but the downside to that, and I can show you that in a demo in just a little bit, is that you will have fewer filters that you can leverage to kind of hone down the data to something specific. And you're going to get a lot more results that may not be meaningful to you. So it really depends on the information that you're looking for and what you're hoping to achieve.
Salome?
Yes.
This is Herman. Can I pause you just for a second?
Yes.
Attendees, this question is for you. We've had a few comments that folks can't see Salome's screen. If you can see Salome's screen, would you simply add to the chat, yes? Perfect. I've seen enough yeses. Salome, please continue. Thank you, everyone.
No worries. I'd actually seen several chats coming in. I wasn't sure if people were not using the Q&A pod.
Yeah, no, we're good. Please proceed. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. So when you are on the contract opportunities landing page, you obviously get your basic search bar, and it's kind of the familiar search bar that we see like in Google or any of the big search engines. But we also do have an option for the advanced search, which is where this right arrow is. One rule of thumb for SAM.gov is that if something is in blue text, you can click it. If it is in blue, it is actionable. So that will give you more specific capabilities that you can do within searching for the contract opportunities. And again, I'll be showing you more in just a little bit. I would like to point out the 2 plus signs underneath the search bar. I should have gotten a better screenshot of these. These are actually accordions. So if you click the plus, it will actually link out, it'll list out several help articles that we have available for these specific topics. For example, if you were to expand the one for getting started, it would be all the basic, you know, how do I search? How do I do this? How do I do that? Under that, we have what we call these little notepads, and each one has help articles and resources that are available for those specific subject matters. We also have a link here to the video for searching for the advanced search for contract opportunities. We have got about 45 videos, and what we've really tried to do is keep them to under 5 minutes. And we've also broken them down so that you can see exactly what topics are discussed and the time index that they are discussed. So you can go in and actually see what you're looking to find. And again, I'll show you that at the help section at the end. But again, if you're looking for just general information, on SAM and how to get around and what you want to do and how you want to do it, this landing page for contract opportunities is where to go. And you got there by selecting the contract opportunities domain from the homepage. In terms of navigating the data, remember that you want to focus the data sets that you're searching against, because that gives you a bigger selection of filters that you can use to really comb down and filter through and really get things that are going to be meaningful and helpful to you. So when you are in the search page and you've selected the domain, you can see the example on the left are the filters for all domains, which is basically, a couple, the status and the which organization is tied to that opportunity. Or if you go straight to the opportunities, then you get the ability to filter by dates, notice types, PSC codes, place of performance, all kinds of fun stuff. And in fact, there's even a more filters option that pops up and lets you customize what filters you can do in that search. And I will also show you how, once you've selected your custom filters, you can save that search so that you won't have to, do it every time you want to run that particular query. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to continue. Don't log me out. Don't log me out. Am I in? Sam is thinking. I think Sam's going to kick me out. It kicked me out. Give me one moment to log in. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. So, because, password reasons, I will be right back. I haven't seen any questions come in yet on the navigation. Have you, Herman?
No, we don't have any questions, not just yet. A few chats, but no questions about any of the content so far.
Gotcha. I'll be back to sharing my screen in just one moment.
And while Salome's doing that, 8A Star Street Industry Partners, we, Belinda, Lori, myself, and the entire 8A Star Street team, we've tried to tell you to do target searches, things like that. And a word that Salome used a few minutes ago is meaningful results, right? So as you think about your target agencies, you think about the services that you provide, you throw a lot into SAM.gov, you're going to get a lot back, but just go ahead and, keep those meaningful results in mind, because you want to be able to leverage SAM.gov and go ahead and attack that. So thanks.
And here we go. You should now be able to see SAM.gov. One thing, for those of you who do not have a lot of experience with the system, this area here, can you see my mouse moving?
Yes.
Okay. The area that I'm circling with my mouse is what you see when you are logged in. You'll notice it's because I have the option to sign out. If I were already logged out, the option here would be to sign in. And also, when you log in for the first time in a day, if you go and you log in, by default, it's going to put you in your workspace. And what the workspace basically is based on your roles and your roles with the organizations or entities that you are affiliated with, and what you are allowed to do. And the widgets that you have here are based on who you are and the entity that you're tied to. So it is different from user to user. Because I am logged in as a federal user, I have access to government things like the federal hierarchy. But you'll see my email address is located here. And anytime you have updates or information or questions on your profile or your roles, when you select the profile option, you get to this page. And you can select my roles, and you will be able to see what role you have with the particular entity.
Salome, we did get a request to see if you might be able to zoom in just a bit.
Oh, sure.
User views. Yeah, I think that's better. Thank you.
Not a problem. I don't always see it the way you see it on the other side of the presentation. So there we go. So that was all done through going through the workspace to the profile page. So I'm going to take you back to for a moment to the home page. This is the home page that you see when you're not logged in, and you can get there anytime by selecting home. You guys want to search for contract opportunities. You're looking for the next thing you can bid on. So when you select contract opportunities, it first takes you to this landing page I showed you earlier. And again, these are help items that you can use. And when you select on these, it will actually take you to a knowledge base article that will walk you through that particular whatever the topic was that you selected. So this is basic filtering for contract opportunities. We have been working very hard to make this real step-by-step, see spot run, and put in screenshots so that you understand what's happening and why. And that's going to be consistent and through this. If you see this little arrow here, that means it's a video. And it'll show, this particular video we have here is how to filter by PSC codes and NAICS codes. So to get into the business of the actual filtering, you saw I selected advanced search. What that did is it put me on the search page. You can see because that's where the green highlight is. And it has already selected for me the contract domain, the contract opportunities domain. If you ever want to change the domain option, you just click the plus sign, it expands it out, and you can change it to whatever you want. But for our purposes today, we want contract opportunities. One change that we have made recently that was a direct result of user feedback was the keyword search has been updated to include the options. If you are doing multiple, a search term with multiple, let's say like Jeep tires, right? If I choose any words, okay, it will bring up, so it's brought up 285 results. These results have either the word Jeep or the word tire, or one or the other. Just Jeep and no tires, or just tires and no Jeep. If you go to all words, that would be either Jeep or tire. And if you go to exact phrases, that can't be right. Hold on here. If you go to exact phrases, you go to exact phrase. Oh, I guess there are no opportunities right now for Jeep tires. It's funny, I always thought that was a pretty basic one. So we can do, let's do, what's something with concrete building? So concrete building with the exact phrase, and you'll see here's the exact phrase, concrete building here. It'll be somewhere either in the synopsis or in the name of the opportunity. And you see there's 14 results. If we wanted to further reduce that and thin that out, you might be looking for a very specific opportunity with DoD. So you just start typing in. Oh, it's abbreviated, Department of Defense. There we go. And you can see we're now down to 7. So what this gives us is 7 results under concrete building. And it's only that phrase. If we were to change it to any words, we now have almost 10,000 results that have either the word concrete or the word building. So I hope that's clear. We do have articles and videos that talk about this as well. So I changed it back to the exact phrase, and now we're down to 7 results. Other things that you can do to narrow down from the field to something meaningful to you is you can choose place of performance. Let's say, you know, you hear Hawaii's nice this time of year. So we've added Hawaii to the mix, and we are now down to 5 results. So this is just a real basic example of how to filter. When you are done with the filters, just click reset. If there is something you would like to filter on that is not in this core group, this is the button I showed you in the screenshots earlier called More Filters. If the box is green, that means it exists. This is what was in there already was just a couple of them, not all of them. But you can choose to select them all or just remove the dates altogether. You have a lot of options here in terms of what you want to do with it. But you can, again, you can just pick some or you can pick all. And then when you make the update, you will see that I now have the options available that were not available before. Now, I know that Herman and I had chatted and said that you all do like to search by NAICS codes and PSC codes. We've tried to make this as intuitive as possible. So let's say you can either just pop in a number and it will find it for you and you can select it. And you can see we now have 184 results that are specific to this particular NAICS code. Or you can kind of drill your way down by topic. So we know that, you know, 54 has this, it's kind of broken down the way it is in the actual NAICS guide. Was I looking at NAICS or PSC? I was looking at NAICS codes. Okay, so you can start, with the first 2 numbers, and then you'll see you have options to scroll down and refine more on your own. If you don't know the number of the search specific code that you're looking for, you can go down and just pick different ones. And you'll see now we've got 600 results. So it is, it appends the search. It doesn't replace it. If you wanted one and not the other, then you would just click out of one of them. And now you see we've got 400 for environmental consulting. And it's going to be the same thing related to the product and service codes, where we start with these high level. And I'm going to get out of here because I don't want to, let's do farm equipment. And you see we've now just brought up any opportunity that is active for that has a tie to this PSC code. I do want to take a minute to note that the active opportunities are what show up by default. You do have the option, if you wanted to see something that had closed out for reference or something, you can choose the inactive ones. And you will see that inactive notices have an inactive tag right here. Just like it's tagged for the domain it lives in, contract opportunities, we also have the tag for inactive. So that's how you can easily separate between one that's inactive and one that's active if you do have both pulled up. Now let's say you know this is something that you find useful. What you can do is go to actions and you can select download. You have the option, the opportunity to download either to a spreadsheet or a PDF. And this is what the file name will be when it's downloaded. If you don't want this file name, you can name it whatever you want. And you'll notice there is a limit of 5,000 records. When you hit download, if it's a smaller file, it will download it to your computer right then and there. If it is a larger file, it will compile the download for you and email you a link that you can click to grab the content. You also have the option here to add it to your saved search. But before I do that, I want to actually go into, minimum of 2 characters, no spaces apparently. Let's do, that's actually, I want to do something a little smaller so you can see it come down right away. So let's do active only, 50 results, beautiful. Okay, we're going to download it to spreadsheet. See, the download's completed, and now it's giving me the opportunity to download it to my machine. So we talked about giving you the opportunity here to save the search. And there was one feature in FBO that they loved, and people have had difficulty finding it in SAM, and we've tried to make improvements on the usability of this component to allow you to more easily save searches. So let's do a brand new search, active records, for all opportunities at Interior. Department of Interior, there we go. And let's say we want to find set aside for 8A. So there are 5 results. And let's say this is something I'm going to be running every day. What you can do is go to your actions and say save. Do you want to save the search? So what I'm going to say is Interior 8A and hit save. Save successfully. And what you can do is when you go to save searches, it will show you the searches you have saved. You'll have the ability to change the name. You can duplicate it and then edit the search itself so that you can use it as a foundation for, do it like if you've got a lot of components and you want one that's different on a couple of them, this way you don't have to start from scratch. You have the opportunity to delete. Want to call your attention to notify. I selected notify, so now the option changes to stop. What notify is whenever there is a change to the result of that search, it will send me an email to say, hey, this search is now getting new information. So I know this was a huge, huge feature of FBO, and it does exist here. If you don't want to get emails every time the search results change, you hit stop notify. It tells you that notifications have been turned off, and you can confirm that by noting that your next option is to notify and not to stop the notifications. And then again, you can come here anytime and just download the search without even running it. And so this is all in the Save Searches area here. I do see a couple questions related to exact phrase and all words. I'll go back to that in just a second. But Caroline, I think I just showed you how we did the Save Searches. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one out of the queue. For the inactive opportunities, it's everything that has ever existed in FBO.gov came over to SAM. So these things never retire. They are always available. In order to, here's a good question. In order to access Save Searches or to save a search, you do have to be logged in. And that is because when you're saving a search, we have to have somewhere to save that where we know it's you, right? So you have your own little profile. And I believe the Save Searches is also accessible from here, right? So you're in your workspace. If you want to go straight to your Save Searches, you can just go here. And there we are. If you have a bunch of different filters in different domains, you can also filter out by those. So I don't have anything for hierarchy or listings, but I do have contract opportunities and wage determinations. If you're looking at this here, Interior 8A, and you don't remember what it was, this lets you expand it, and you can see it's in the contract opportunities domain. It's currently an active search. The filters are for set aside and from Department of the Interior. So we think we've got a pretty robust. And I did note that you do have the ability to get the emails for the safe searches, and that you can turn them on and off here. I'm going to take a second and look at some of the questions and make sure that create a search for active 8A companies. So what you would do is, oh, you're wanting to search for the actual entity by 8A. That's a good question. Let me take a look at that here. So you would go to entity information, entities. And again, you do have to be logged in to see any entity information. And socioeconomic status, you are looking for, let's see, there's 8A joint venture, 8A participant, and there you go. So I hope that answers that question. Let's see. I want to take a moment and go back and get the rest of the slides knocked out, and then we can come back and open it up more, a little bit more. So back here on the slide deck, and again, this is just reiterating how to navigate using the filters and how to change the filters to get something that is going to be meaningful for you and get the results that you're looking for. How to save your search. The actions in the upper right corner of your search results gives you the opportunity to download and or save. You can even do them at the exact same time. For saving the searches, you want to make sure to give them an intuitive name so that you know what they are when you go back and look for them. And you can also access your saved searches by selecting the Save Search button in your workspace. The notifications is the on-off switch to get an email sent to you, and they're sent every night at 9 o'clock, because I know all my test ones show up every morning. They go out at 9 o'clock at night, and it basically lets you know when there is a change. You get a new result that wasn't in the search the last time you ran it. You will get a notification saying, hey, go check this out. Some of the help areas, I will go through again when I go back to the SAM screen, but we want to make sure that folks can find what they're looking for. We've got some areas where help topics are broken down by federal or non-federal users, and that is specifically on the help page in SAM.gov. You see on the main page at the top, they selected help, and we will put up basic things where you're seeing trends in the help topics. So if we're getting a lot of, if there's a new function or new feature, I would expect something like that to show up there, because a lot of people are looking at it to understand what they're doing and how it works. And then we also have a basic area for folks who are new to SAM right here. And what it does is, it's the basics. Do I need an account? When do I have to log in? When don't I have to log in? What is login.gov? Because, we are affiliated with, we use them to provide our identity management. And, what happens if I change my email address, and those kind of basic questions for new users. We are actually getting ready to, I think they're being deployed tomorrow night on a lot of our pages. Whenever you see this little blue question mark here, you're going to see what we call a slider, and this will pop out, giving you direct links to help articles on a specific topic, depending on where you are in SAM.gov. We just finished user testing these last week, and they are going to be deployed tomorrow night, and they should be available anytime this weekend. So whenever you are searching, if you see that blue question mark, we're primarily starting it, I think, on the entity registration pages, but it'll eventually be everywhere. So, and again, it's all about getting the help to the users and the information to all of you in as few clicks as possible. The Federal Service Desk, most of you know it. There is a search bar very similar to the Google bar that we have in SAM, only what this is going to give you is video links. It'll give you FAQ links, glossary links, user guides, anything that any material that we have generated is specific to the topic that you are searching for is what will come up. If you can't find an answer, you have the option to either go into a live chat or create an incident. I highly recommend the web form because you can just put all your information in the web form and send it, and they will get back to you by email. That way you're not having to call in or be on hold, or, you know, some people just, sometimes the queues can be a little long. So a great way around that is the web chat. Or the, I'm sorry, not the web chat, but the web form. It lets you fill in the information and go on from there. And I did mention earlier that we offer feedback on every page. And what I'm going to do is go back here, and you can see the bottom of every single page is feedback with this green arrow. I love this. I get an update every night with every piece of feedback provided by users. And I have a team that comb through it and pull out anything that's actionable. So, you know, just, you know, things that are like, you know, I liked FBO better. Not much I can do about that. But if you're very specific about things like, you know, I would like to be able to access this information, or I'm having trouble finding this information, I think, you know, you need to make this more easy to find. Things about the look and feel of the site. I want to see it, because what we do, my team and I, we go through it all and we provide it to the product owners who are responsible for the development. And we're using what's called agile development. So we go through, you know, periods where we are preparing the next batch of work, and we always include items like this that we call O&M, or operations and maintenance. And that includes a lot of the improvements that we get recommended from the site. I want to say 1.5 years ago, when we went live with the updated version of SAM.gov, about a month before that, we changed the entire look and feel, and that was 100% based on feedback we received from users. It was like 500 pieces of feedback that we ended up implementing. So again, if you have a specific functionality question or a technical issue, you need to send that to us through the Federal Service Desk. But if you've got a usability thing or things you would like to see the system do that it currently does not do, this is where I want to see that. And we do look at it. I know from your perspective, it looks like it's going into the ether, into a black hole, but I do get a spreadsheet every night, and my team works on it every day, and we get it into our backlog. Once we've gotten it, we look at it. Does it make sense? Does it violate any policy? And then we take it to our governance for approval, and then it gets put into the queue to get developed after it's prioritized. So you may not see all that, but believe me, we are taking that into account. So I was going to show you real quick before I open it up to questions, the help area. So this is the help that's up in the main menu. And again, this has got the trends. You can go straight to the FSD from here if you want. We have some self-help options. If you are a non-federal user, we have some specific things here that apply just to you. And the other option that you have is you can go to As we said, FSD.gov. And for those of you particularly who are mecking about with entity information, this is what you want to be. This gives you all the information, soup to nuts, about how to get your entity registered and keep it maintained, how to become the administrator, how to do your roles, how to update. Everything you need is going to be right here. But again, you can type in anything here and it will come back, and here are all the different videos that are available. Data extracts and APIs, how to search contract opportunities, how to search by place of performance, advanced search. We've got a bunch of videos and classes that we've done on the reporting capability. There's a lot of information that, we've worked really hard to get a lot of this information out there. And we, really hope that you guys will find it useful and helpful. So having said that, I've got the Q&A pod opened. There was a question asking if you have to request a new role for every opportunity. My answer to that is no. I'm not sure I understand the nature of the CUI opportunity, but what I can tell you is that you as a business are an entity, and that entity can bid on any opportunity. You don't have to have a separate entity in order to bid. So if that doesn't answer the question, feel free to pop back in and let me know. There was a question on how did I get to this screen, but I don't know what screen was being referenced, so I do apologize. I do see a question here related to roles. So I'm actually logged in with a federal account, so it's kind of a bad example. But one thing that you can do if you have questions related to roles, whoops. Sorry, I've got things overlaying here. I would strongly suggest that you come here. And we have role management guides and quick start guides for SAM.gov roles and permissions. We have a specific guide for non-federal role administration. So basically, if you create the entity in SAM.gov, you are by default the role administrator, and you are responsible for what roles are given to others in your organization. And in terms of breaking down what the roles are for those entities and what they do, you're going to want to take a look at the guide, and it will walk you through all that. Some of it is for the ability to post to the IVL or download sensitive material from an opportunity. So you definitely want to take a look at the guide, because that will provide you all the information that you need. And remember, that's the guide specifically for the non-federal users, I think, is what you're going to need. Let's see. There was another question specific to the search. And when we were talking about the different type of search options, right in here, any words, all words, exact phrase. There is a little I button that when you hover, it breaks it down for you. So any word will contain one, some, or all keywords entered. That will give you the most results out of any of these. All words has to contain every word that's listed. And then exact phrase has it exactly the way you type it. So I'm trying to think real quick of a good example that's got multiple words. No, let's do if you've got any suggestions, Herman, I'm open.
Yeah, what about robotic process automation? How about that?
Thank you. Okay, so I have entered robotic process automation. If I select any words, that's going to give me 36,000 results, because it's looking for any of those words together or separate. Just as if any one of those words exist, it pulled it back. When I switch to all words, I come down to 12 results. Only 12 results have those 3 specific words. If we want these words in that order, we would go to the exact phrase, and you see we are now down to 8 results. So that is how we would go about using the different keyword searches. And anytime you are not sure, we have a specific knowledge article on this capability. And then there's these little help tags right here as well. I see a question related to RFPs and RFIs. I'm not sure I know how to answer that, but let me take a look here. And that might be under notice types, actually. If you are looking for a specific notice type, you can filter by that. So if you were, let's see, you were looking for, although I see like in pre-solicitation options, but RFPs and RFIs, I'm not sure where that is. I thought that was a notice type.
It would probably just be solicitation, or combined synopsis solicitation. But I'll take this opportunity to tell our 8A Stars 3 industry partners, if an acquisition has come to the point where it's already in the solicitation phase, RFP, RFQ, whatever you want to call it, that contracting officer has likely identified their acquisition strategy, right? Where I would suggest that 8A Stars 3 industry partners focus are those opportunities that are in the sources sought phase, maybe even the pre-solicitation phase, to give you an opportunity to go ahead and engage with that contracting officer and introduce them to the 8A Stars 3 team and tell them all the good things about the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. So, you know, there is a point where an opportunity is too far, I believe. So what I would just suggest, just based on what I've seen with the 8A program over the years, is to focus on those opportunities, pre-solicitation, sources sought, et cetera. So thanks, Salome. And if I could add one more thing, we did have a chat about, is this training going to be more specific to 8A Stars 3? And I'd just like to let everybody know that, as I mentioned, SAM.gov is a tool. There's no secret sauce. There's no magic marketing plan for the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. How you choose to market your company and how you choose to take advantage of all these tools and resources is up to you. For example, my approach would be, as I mentioned, sources sought. A button that I wasn't familiar with that really caught my attention were the inactive opportunities, right? You know, a contracting officer who procured something a year ago, they may be looking to have a recompete and procure that down the road, especially if it's an 8A requirement that has to stay in the 8A program. So there's really no science to this. It's more of an art rather than a science. And I just want to encourage our industry partners to just be creative. Think about how you can incorporate this tool into your marketing strategy, your capture management, and go from there. There's no one size fits all, but just be as creative as possible. Thank you, Salome.
Thank you. No, that's excellent. Again, I get so enamored with what the system can do, and I do need to take a step back and focus on your specific needs for it. So you'd mentioned, you know, the sources sought is a notice type that can be searched against. And again, you can search for active or inactive. You also can search for things that are specific or total or partial set-asides, sole source, all that fun stuff. And just there will be times when you may not return anything. So make sure if you get no results to select inactive. It just may be that what you're looking for does not have any active notices at that time, but you can see what the inactive ones were. Let's see. So there's a question here on how to determine the best way if an opportunity is active and current. So there may be a scenario, and keep me honest if I'm wrong, Herman, but it's the award notice, if the award notice date is 2/2/22, There may be mods or other things that keep the contract in it, that keep the notice in an active status. There may be other updates. And again, this, I am the system person, not necessarily the contracts person, but when you are looking for dates, the dates that we generally go by here are response offered and the updated dates, but I believe, and that's also how we sort them. So I think, hold on here, let's take a look at here. Let's go inactive. So June 30th, June 27th. Yeah, it looks like these, so this one is June 2nd. So that's a good question. I am not sure why this is still open, unless this one is a source is sought. So maybe they're going to do more with it later. But in terms of when it is or is not transitioned over, if it seems to be out of process, that may be because the contracting officer has other plans for it. So I'd have to look a little deeper into that to get a clearer answer. But, it's the same thing like with the IVL. If you're trying to get on the interested vendors list and you can't, it's either going to be because you don't have the right role or the contracting officer decided not to enable that capability for that notice. And I know we're just about at time. So I think I will hand it back over to you, Herman.
Yeah, that sounds good, Salome. Thank you very much. Just to let everybody know, keep the questions coming in the Q&A pod. And what I'll do is I'll copy and paste all those questions, and Salome and I will get together and we'll go ahead and address those questions that weren't addressed during the live presentation. So thank you for the questions. Keep them coming in. Maybe you put something in the chat box, but it should have gone into the Q&A. Go ahead and copy and paste that or retype in the Q&A pod, please. So Salome, on behalf of the entire 8A Stars 3 team, we just want to say thanks for briefing our industry partners. We know the priorities of the IAE team, and we sincerely appreciate the support that you've provided to our industry partners. We hope that you enjoyed the presentation and learned a few more tricks to leverage SAM.gov to find contract opportunities. Again, the presentation is recorded. The PowerPoint will be shared, and again, we'll keep the Q&A pod open. With us going into fourth quarter, we're going to go ahead and pause our outreach and training. We're going to let you guys focus on the fourth quarter push, but look forward to October, the beginning of fiscal year 2023. We're planning on doing an interactive webinar with an 8A Stars 3 trivia. So go ahead and study up on your contract terms and conditions. But with that being said, we can go ahead and end this webinar. We'll keep it live. Stick around as long as you want to, and add those Q&As to the Q&A pod. Salome, thank you very much. You can go ahead and drop off. I'll connect with you soon, and we'll keep it open until we stop seeing Q&As come across. Thank you, everyone.